Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. I'm James and you are watching Blue Dog Reptiles. Now, sorry about the late video. We got kind of slammed on today and at the store, and I really wasn't sure what reptile I was going to do for a care guide today. And it just so happened that we actually had two come in that I'd never had before. I actually had to do research on how to build their setups. And so we are going to be covering them. Now, these guys go by a couple of different names. Most of the time they're Sarasinorum, a giant gecko, but I can give you guys an idea. So they're Sarasinorum giant gecko. These guys are incredible. And obviously, you know, I have both these doors open. You're like, what is going on? How do you have them in there? I don't. We're actually going to show you us putting them in each of the enclosures, but I really wanted to talk about the enclosures first and what they need and just the overall care of these guys. And they're absolutely incredible. So the biggest thing with these guys, and I actually kind of had to find a placement because right now I don't have too many arboreal setups, but these PVC that I have right now actually have quite a bit of height, and with all the branches in here, it's going to work out very, very nicely for them. And you can kind of see how we did each one of these. That is actually just a big piece turned on its side. But so these guys will grow 12 to 16 inches. So this definitely won't be a forever home. But these guys originate from the southern forest of the Grande Terre, which is the southern region of New Caledonia. And these guys are actually commonly mistaken for New Caledonian geckos. So, and you guys will see once we pull them out here, but they're mildly tropical. And so you can see that we put pieces of moss throughout the enclosures to help with humidity. And give them that kind of tropical blend. We also did a bioactive bottom for these guys since they are more of an arboreal, but we want to make sure that they have plenty of cleanup crews in here for them. These guys are pretty simple to care for from what I've gathered, but they don't like being handled a whole lot. Thankfully, the two that I have in, we have a male and a female that are in here. And they actually have gotten accustomed, they're about 4 years old, and they've actually got accustomed to being held. So it's a very rare case that these guys are actually handleable. Now, these guys are lightning fast, so that is something to keep in mind. The lady actually called one of them Speedy because when she got them as babies, she opened up the box and it hit the ceiling. So it's definitely something when we go to put these guys in here, we will have a spotter just to be safe, to make sure that there are no issues and these guys get moved over here just fine. Lifespan on these guys is typically 15 to 20 years. So definitely a long term. And enclosure size, so this is a 4-foot PVC. I would love it if this thing was vertical, but like I said, we have too many animals that are in arboreal setups, and so it's just not going to work out. So, but this one has plenty of height right now, and it will work for the time being. Light, these guys don't need UVB, but I mean, they can survive without UVB. However, it is always crucial with any reptile to incorporate UVB. So we actually have UV. You can actually see it up here behind each one of the enclosures. I actually had to change out the bulbs because we had some desert themed animals in here before we cleaned these out. And so it was really, really hot, and that's not good for these guys, and I'll get why. So the basking spot on these guys is only 88 degrees. So we had 100 watt and we had to drop it down to a 75 watt so that the ambient temperature is good. We used our temp gun to make sure that the temperatures were proper throughout the entire setup. But the cool side of the tank needs to be between 70, 80. So it's perfect that the light's over there, and then we have the gradual temperature down to about 70 here. At night, you do want to shut all the lights off, and they can drop down in the 60s, but these guys are nocturnal, so they're going to be more active at night, which kind of sucks in a retail store because you kind of want them to be active during the day, but you know, it is what it is. Humidity on these guys definitely needs to be between 60 and 80%. You can accomplish that by misting in the morning and misting at night. I went through and gave this a very good soak down, just because it is a new setup and a new environment for both of these. Substrate, you want to make sure that the substrate is at least 2 inches thick, and that is more for on the breeding size. When the female comes down, she'll actually burrow, dig down, and then put her eggs, and then she'll cover them up. And so we have about 1.5 inches in here. We don't plan on introducing these guys to each other, even though we do have a male female. Apparently when it comes to breeding these guys, it can be kind of rough, and so they're definitely loners when it comes to, even though this is a big setup, we're only doing 1 in each, and you'll see why, but these guys are extremely territorial, so you don't want to put them in the same enclosure. And these guys live at the very tops of trees, and that's why we used a lot of the redwood here. That way it incorporates kind of a natural feel for them. We have fallen branches and moss and stones and then pieces of cork, and we wanted to emulate as natural of an environment as possible for them. And you do notice that I have water dishes in here. These guys are surface drinkers, but I do always like to keep water dishes in just in case they ever want to come up. The biggest thing with these guys is when you build their setup, normally I wouldn't put this much stuff in an enclosure. However, these guys are used to being at the tops of trees, and they like a lot of coverage, and so they'll be bouncing from one to the other. And so that's why I wanted to put lots of different types of, well, not necessarily types, because this is all redwood, but I wanted to give them lots of options as far as moving around the enclosure. Diet on these guys, think of a crested gecko when it comes to their diet. They are omnivores, so in the wild they'll actually eat plants and insects, but in captivity they typically eat rapaceae and crickets. Now hatchlings, between the ages of birth and 12 months old, they get crested gecko food daily, and then insects 1 to 2 times a week. And then once they hit a year old and they go into their adulthood, they get fed rapaceae every 2 to 3 days, and then they get fed insects only once a week. Make sure that you have high up platforms for them to get food, which I still do need to incorporate the arboreal platforms for them to eat, but that's something that I can do after the fact. I just want them to kind of get settled into these enclosures tonight. Price on these guys, it really varies. Typically these guys can go anywhere in price from $150 to $450, especially females. So if you're thinking about getting one of these giant geckos, yeah, they're really cool. But without further ado, I'll stop delaying here, stop showing you the enclosures, and we'll get the geckos and we'll get them moved in here. So sorry, I have kind of a dead leg, and I'm actually, so if you haven't seen my store, this is part of my store. Scott, can I borrow you for a minute? I'm asking our guy Scott, maybe if you remember, he helped us with the aquascape, but this is literally just a second set of eyes because these guys are so very fast. So we see I just had them in holding tubs right now. You see him? There he is. Now I'm gonna close this door as much as I can. There he is. There she is. This is a female. I'm gonna grab her. And she's pooping on me and doing her thing. But these guys are absolutely, I'm trying to move as quickly as I can so that I'm gonna make sure I put her in the right setup. But look at that color pattern. That's just absolutely incredible. And there she goes. She is off exploring the new world of her setup. So we're gonna close the door on her and we're gonna go grab the male. Yeah, So now we're moving on to the male. These guys, I hope he's in his tube. So they said that he liked this tube a lot. And I hope that he's just in it because then I can just move it. Yep, there's his face. So what we're gonna do is, oh, I can feel his butt. There's his tail right there. Well, this is gonna be the easy part. We're just gonna move him just like this and we'll set his tube in there and let him come out on his own. So for now, I'm gonna set this tube toward the back. I'm sorry you guys can't really see him, but we'll make sure to do other videos with him actually out because I'll pull that tube out once he gets out of it. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this channel in this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and tell us what you think. This channel is growing more and more each and every day. And let's see if we can see her. Nope, she's gone. She's hidden. It's to be expected, but thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you next Friday, and bye-bye.